Your body is running a program. It was never supposed to run this many times. Every month, if you are a modern woman in an industrialized country, your body goes through a full hormonal cycle. Ovulation, menstruation, reset, repeat, roughly 12 times a year, for about 40 years. That is approximately 450 periods across a lifetime. And for most of human history, that number would have been incomprehensible. Not because ancient women were different from modern women, because their lives were different. And the difference between 450 periods and 50 periods tells you something profound about the female body, about ancient life, and about what your biology was actually designed to do. Start with the number that changes everything. 50. Anthropologist Beverly Strassman spent years studying the Dogon people of Mali, one of the last populations on Earth still living without modern contraception or industrialized food. She found that Dogon women menstruated roughly 100 times in their entire lives. Other researchers studying hunter-gatherer populations have estimated the number as low as 50. Some women went years between periods. Some went nearly a decade, 50 periods. In a lifetime, when modern women have 450, that is not a small difference. That is a different biological life entirely. And understanding why it happened changes the way you see everything. The first reason begins before the first period ever arrives. In the United States today, the average girl gets her first period at around 12 years old. In hunter-gatherer societies, that number was closer to 16 or 17. The reason is simple and rarely discussed. The human reproductive system requires a certain threshold of body fat and caloric energy before it will switch on. Ancient girls were lean. They walked miles every day beside their mothers, foraging, carrying, moving. They ate when food was available, which was not always. Their bodies did not carry enough stored energy to trigger menstruation at 12. So for the first 16 or 17 years of an ancient woman's life, periods were simply not happening yet. Then came pregnancy. Without any form of contraception, most ancient women became pregnant within a year or two of their first cycle. Pregnancy lasts 9 months. During those 9 months, no menstruation. Then comes breastfeeding, and not the kind you see today. Among the Kung of the Kalahari Desert, mothers breastfed their children on demand, sometimes dozens of times a day, for 3 to 4 years continuously. This constant nursing triggered something called lactational amenorrhea. The body produces high levels of prolactin during intense breastfeeding, and prolactin suppresses ovulation entirely. No ovulation, no period. So a typical ancient woman's reproductive life looked something like this. First period at 16 or 17, pregnant within a year. 9 months of pregnancy, 3 to 4 years of breastfeeding with no cycle at all. Then perhaps a few months of menstruation before becoming pregnant again. This pattern repeated 5, 6, sometimes 7 times, until the body could no longer sustain it. The thing modern women experience every single month was a rare interruption in an ancient woman's life. Not a rhythm, an occasional event, brief, infrequent, and surrounded by something modern women almost never have: community. But it did happen, and when it did, there was nothing manufactured for the purpose. No drugstore, no cotton, no pharmacy. So what did they use? The honest answer is whatever the land offered. Soft moss was one of the most common materials across cultures and climates. Sphagnum moss, found in bogs and wetlands across the northern world, is naturally absorbent. It can hold up to 20 times its own weight in liquid. Women packed it into place, or wrapped it inside strips of soft animal skin. In drier regions they used dried grass, bark fibers, or pieces of animal hide. Some groups used nothing at all. Ethnographic records from indigenous communities around the world describe women simply wearing dark wraps, or allowing blood to flow freely while continuing their day. There was no cultural expectation to conceal it. The idea that menstrual blood must be captured and hidden is almost entirely a modern invention. For most of human history, it was simply blood. Biology, nothing more. But here is the part of the story that nobody expects. In dozens of cultures across every inhabited continent, women who were menstruating separated from the group. Anthropologists call them menstrual lodges or menstrual huts, and the modern assumption is almost always the same. These women were being punished, banished, because they were considered unclean, or dangerous, or spiritually contaminated. The archaeological and anthropological record tells a different story entirely. Among the Yurok people of Northern California, a menstruating woman was considered to be at the height of her spiritual power. Seclusion was not exile, it was concentration. She was removed from daily labor, not because she was contaminated, but because her energy was too intense for ordinary life. Among the Kalasha people of Pakistan, the communal menstrual house called the Bashali functioned as something much closer to a retreat than a punishment. Women gathered there together. They told stories, they shared food, they laughed, they rested, while men and older children managed the household without them. For women who spent every other day of the month working from before sunrise until after dark, the Bashali was the only rest biology had ever built into their lives. Not exile, a biological permission to stop. And then there is the ochre. Across archaeological sites in Africa dating back more than 100,000 years, researchers have found something they cannot fully explain. Red ochre, everywhere, ground to powder, smeared on skin, mixed with animal fat, applied to tools, to bones, to the walls of caves. It is one of the oldest and most widespread substances in the entire human archaeological record, and some researchers believe it is directly connected to menstruation. Anthropologists Camilla Power and Chris Knight proposed something that stopped the academic world cold. Early human women may have used red ochre to simulate menstrual blood on their bodies. Their theory, called the Female Cosmetic Coalition's hypothesis, argues that as humans evolved, women lost the visible signs of ovulation that other primates display. A chimpanzee shows swelling and color changes when she is fertile. Human women show nothing. Menstruation became the most visible marker of reproductive status. And Power and Knight argued that women began painting their skin with red ochre collectively, as a social signal, a way to amplify and control what that blood meant within the group. If this theory holds, then the first symbolic act in human history was not a cave painting of a horse. It was not a carved figurine. It was a woman painting her body red. Culture may have been born from menstruation. As civilizations emerged, methods changed. Ancient Egyptians may have fashioned softened papyrus into something resembling a primitive tampon, though historians now say the evidence is thinner than once believed. Medieval European women used rags, washed and reused for years. That is where the phrase "on the rag" comes from. Then, during the First World War, French nurses noticed something. The cellulose bandages they used to dress wounds absorbed blood far better than any cloth they had ever worked with. After the war ended, the Kimberly-Clark Company took that same material and created a product called Kotex. The first commercially available disposable menstrual pad went on sale in 1920. And within a single generation, the way women had managed their periods for 300,000 years was replaced by something purchased in a box and disposed of in silence. Here is the part that should sit with you. Evolutionary biologists now call what modern women experience an evolutionary mismatch. Your body was built for frequent pregnancy and years of breastfeeding, a life in which the ovaries rarely cycled at all. Instead, modern women ovulate every single month for decades. Each ovulation triggers cell division in the ovary. Each division is a chance for mutation. Researchers have linked the dramatically higher number of lifetime ovulations in modern women to increased rates of ovarian and endometrial cancers, conditions that were nearly non-existent in ancestral populations. The hormonal birth control pill, which suppresses ovulation, lowers these risks, not because it treats a disease, but because it accidentally recreates something closer to the hormonal pattern your body was originally designed to run. 450 cycles was never the plan. For 300,000 years, menstruation was rare, brief, and woven into the life of a community. Women bled into moss or bark or nothing at all. They gathered together and rested while their bodies did what bodies do. They may have painted themselves red and turned biology into the first human symbol ever made. And then in the space of a single century, all of that was replaced with a product in plastic wrap on a drugstore shelf. A product most women buy without speaking about it and use without being seen. As if the most ancient and universal process in the female body is something that needs to disappear. Your ancestors did not hide it. They built lodges for it. They painted their skin for it. They rested for it. The body you are living in was designed for a life almost nothing like the one you are living. And most of us will go our entire lives never knowing what that body was actually built for.